my teammates and coaches every day in order to put me in a position where they trusted me to succeed. And even in those difficult moments in college, when I didn't necessarily always believe in myself, I had a mentor come into my life, a psychologist for our team. His name was Greg Harden. And he said, you know, rather than quitting and transferring to some other place where it might be easier for you, because those are thoughts that happen when you're 7th on the depth chart, why don't you stick it out here and look at this as one of the great opportunities in your life? All these challenges that you're facing, they're teaching you something. So learn from it. If you can't be the best out of these 6 guys you're competing against, how do you think you're going to go to the professional level and play? How do you think you're going to be a professional quarterback if you can't beat out the 6 guys at Michigan? And that was a great change in mindset for me. So then every day, even though they were my teammates, I competed really hard. I pushed them to succeed. They pushed me to succeed. Ultimately, my 4th and 5th year, I played pretty good. And I got a chance to come down. My last college game was in Miami at the Orange Bowl. One of the most memorable games of my college career. We played Alabama. It was a great game. I'm not going to bore you guys with the details, but it was very meaningful to me. I got drafted by the Patriots in the year 2000, and Bill Belichick was my mentor. You know, one of the great coaches in the history of the NFL. And he saw this young, hungry kid, the same one that Tom Martinez saw, the same one that my parents saw, the same one that Greg Harden saw. And he took me under his wing. And he had a lot of years of experience in the NFL. And he said, look, if you want to be a great quarterback, you got to learn and do these things better. These are the things we're going to work on every year. And every year I tried to pick something out. In the year 2000, I wasn't this great physical specimen athlete that so many of these young guys are, that so many people, you know, they're not born, well, so they're born with great genetics, but then, you know, you've got to work hard to continue to develop those. And I worked with Bill Belichick, and I understood the game, and I still wanted to be good. In 2001, we had success, and we actually won the Super Bowl. It was kind of amazing for all of us. We weren't the ones that started out that year thinking we were going to win the Super Bowl, but we all put our collective hearts and minds and souls together, and we played as a team, and we ended up winning against a lot of odds.
The key, I would say, is your coaches throughout your career, from high school, throughout your NFL career. Coaches, I mean, I see it in high school sports, because they play such a special role in kids' lives.
Yes.
And speaking of kids, you have millions of fans around the world, especially youth and kids growing up that admire you. One of those big fans is my 15-year-old son, who's a varsity lacrosse player, Sebastian. And I asked him, you know, if you can ask Tom a question, what would it be?
Yeah.
And I think you sort of answered it in your talking about the coaches and what got you through tough times. But I think we could go a little deeper, more into like the mental aspect of it. He's saying, as a high school athlete, you know, there's times, I'm sure, that he's felt, that you feel, that you have felt when you were a high school athlete, that you might want to quit, you might want to give up, and you just, you know, need to keep going. What got you through those times? That's basically his question. I guess the coaches, you answer that, but is there anything else that you did maybe mentally through those times, whether it's high school or college, that made you keep going?
Absolutely, and I think what was interesting was when you called out the psychologist, Greg Harden, and how he helped you cultivate that mindset, which is part of, I'm sure, the secret sauce.
Sure.
How did this come about?
Yeah, Sebastian, that's a great question. I think, again, for all of us, whether I think you're young or middle-aged or old, it's not like we always have the most confidence in ourselves in everything we do. That's impossible. The only way to be confident in something is to do it and to feel like, you know, you can do it at a way that you want to be able to represent yourself. But it's usually not the first time you try something that you're going to be the most confident. It's not like when I walked on the field as a freshman in high school for the first time. I had much confidence. I have a 15-year-old who plays lacrosse. You know, it's not like
they might play each other now.
I know. You know, it's not like he walks out there every day and says, God, I'm the most confident kid in the world, and, you know, I'm just this great lacrosse player. Every game that goes by, that confidence is fragile in all of us. Yeah. When we succeed, we build a little confidence. When we don't succeed, maybe we lose a little confidence. But I'll say this, whether you succeed or don't succeed, the whole point is to learn from it. Yeah. It's not that whether you succeed or you fail. It's what did you learn from the success? What did you learn from the failure? How many people in this room have failed in life? And what something you set your mind out to? Yeah, I have thousands of times. Thousands of times. But if I look at my life and I look at the greatest, what you would think as failures in life, I would say those are the things in the end that I learned from in life the most. The hardest times in our life are always the moments where we learn the most from, because we're very vulnerable and open and receptive to the acknowledgement that we don't know everything. We don't have everything figured out. In fact, what we don't know is limitless. What we know is very, very limited. So taking an approach where you don't necessarily know everything, where you don't feel like you should be great at everything, which is hard for young kids today. I think young kids are looking on social media, they're looking on YouTube, they're looking on television, and they're seeing so many people so good at things and thinking that's just the way they were born.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. We're not born like that. This is from someone who played 23 years. I worked every single day, 365 days a year, to be the best that I could be. Not to be the best I could be. So whatever you approach in your life, it's not to be the best at something, it's to be the best that you could be at something. You get a chance to choose in life what you want to be the best at. Pick something, in my mind, that you really enjoy doing, regardless of what that pays you, regardless of what status that may give you. Find something in your life you love to do, work really hard at it, and I promise you you'll get good at it. Because if you spend enough time and energy, and you create a culture of teamwork and a great environment of learning and humility, I think you have a great opportunity to succeed in life. You're out there building a business. You're out there trying to be good on a sports team. You're a 15-year-old boy that's trying to succeed. Care about the people that you're doing things with. Care about your teammates. Care about what you're trying to accomplish. Who gives a shit in the end if you win or lose? We all want to win. So does the other team. But what do we want to do? We want to learn from whatever comes our way, and we want to be better the next time we try it.
Amen.
Amen. Be the best that you could be.
Yeah. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Pivoting a little bit now to your entrepreneurial journey. Mel mentioned it. You're not just one of the most accomplished football players of all time. You're also an accomplished entrepreneur. So talk to us a little bit about the process for you to launch and align yourself with brands. How do you choose them, and how do you kind of build a portfolio?
Yeah, I think naturally for me, what I realized was athletes' careers all come to an end at some point. I mean, all of our lives and careers come to an end at some point. For athletes, it usually happens a little bit quicker because, our physical skills deteriorate and we're competing against a lot of younger people with a lot of non-deteriorated skill sets. I was very fortunate to another mentor of mine, and one of my best friends, Alex Herrera, who also lives down here now in Fort Lauderdale. He taught me how to take care of myself.
Everybody's moving here, Tom.
I know.
Everybody's moving.
He taught me how to take care of my body and be really preventative with the things that I put into my body, and how I can continue to play quarterback was really going to be a product of all the decisions that I made on a daily basis. I wanted to take care of my body so that I could play as long as I did, and he came into my life and taught me those things. So as I know that football was going to come to an end at some point, I also wanted to think about, well, when I'm done playing, what are some other things that I can do that I'm going to be really excited about when I'm done playing, so that I don't get really bored when I'm done playing. I know that football was this incredible aspect of my life that was really a dream come true, but I saw a lot of other athletes that their dream ended at a younger age, and then they had a hard time finding something they wanted to do. So I began to think about my post-career life a little bit. I would say when I had a little free time from not practicing and playing football, and I wanted to work on some of the other professional entrepreneurial things that I did. So, I probably naturally did some things that a lot of athletes do with some endorsements, but I really wanted to create my own brand because I wanted to be the boss. I didn't want to answer to somebody all the time. So,
nothing wrong with that.
No, it's not at all. No, not at all. But and I did that for a lot of years in my football career. I wasn't the boss. But then in my second career, I would say I'm 45 now, in the next 45 years of my life, I want to continue to do great things, and I want to see other people actualize their potential in whatever they want. I was very fortunate to do that in sports. There's so many other parts of life that are so interesting, that are so exciting to explore. And I've been able to do that the last 23 years professionally, but now it's more of a full-time commitment to doing those things. And what I do realize is business is very hard. Business is very competitive. Every day you got to get up and you got to think about, how can I be a little bit better today for my consumer, for my client, or for my boss, or for the person next to me? How can I be a little bit better this coming year than I was the past year? So that's what I think about now. I still take a very similar, I would say, athletic, team-oriented mindset to the professional endeavors that I'm really doing and undertaking, because that's been a secret to my success. and having a great team around me, always trying to over-deliver for people, always trying to set a great standard. So whether it was a book that I wrote, I wanted it to be a great book. I didn't want to kind of put a minimal effort into it. I knew if I put a minimal effort into it, people wouldn't like it. So I tried to put a lot of effort into it. I tried to produce some things in media, and I've really enjoyed that. So trying all these different parts of life, although it will never feel like running out in front of 70,000 people listening to a Jay-Z song.
That's right, that was your hype song,
that's
right?
my hype song.
Right.
It's still very exciting for me to, do other things where I feel like I can still make a positive influence in the world and make a difference in people's lives through all the lessons that I've learned.
Amen.
Speaking of perseverance, your passion and grit, both in sports and business, is very, very impressive. And you mentioned a little bit like the secrets to your success. So wondering what habits or practices you attribute that long-term success, or what habits and practices are you practicing now? What are some of those Tom Brady secrets?
Yeah, those are great questions. And I'd say a lot of it, as I told a little bit about my upbringing, right, high school and college, things didn't necessarily come easy for me. And I think you could look at that in two ways. You could say, oh man, that really sucks. You weren't the best in your freshman year in high school. You weren't that great as your sophomore year in high school as a quarterback or as a basketball player. But what did that allow me to do, right? Not being great at something allowed me to develop a work ethic. Failing and not succeeding early in my career, whether that was high school or college or early in my pro career, allowed me to really look in the mirror and deal with myself. I had to look back at myself and say, did I give it my best today? Was I the one that was the most committed to the team and the most committed to my preparation? So what did I develop over these time periods where nobody else was watching, where I was maybe the one disappointed that I wasn't succeeding at the point and at the level that I wanted to? So what did I had to do? I had to work harder than everybody else. I had to be more determined and more driven than the other guys who were more talented than me. I had to find a deeper belief in caring for the people that I did it with so I could gain their trust even more. So a lot of it was these intangible qualities that are very tangible.
I feel like it's dedication.
And amazing dedication and discipline and determination, and all those things are so critical to everything, because what are you learning if you try something for the first time and it goes well? What did you really learn? Was it really that hard, do you think? Was that experience of trying something and being good at it the first time, did you learn much from that? Well, it probably wasn't that difficult. But if you're going to try something difficult in life, and whether that's a professional life or personal life, you better expect that that's going to come with a lot of adversity.
For sure.
And you're going to have to deal with that adversity. Why don't people want to go out on the field? There's a lot of players that I played that in the end, okay, they were great players, right? But then when we got to the biggest games and the biggest moments, they kind of wanted to go hide a little bit. They weren't the players that when the big moments came, they said, all right, now put me in. This is when I want to shine. I want to shine in the Super Bowl. I want to shine on Monday Night Football. That's when you have your 25, 30 million people watching the Super Bowl.
Can I tell you that for me, this is like a big game. This is what I've been like trying
No,
to do.
girl.
All right?
That's
It's
fun.
been like, I'm going to do it.
Right.
I'm going to get out there.
Yes.
I've been nervous,
Yes.
the whole thing. But I'm like, we're going to come up here.
Yes.
So this has been our big game that
Our
we've been
Super
prepping
Bowl
for.
and 10 conferences.
Awesome.
And my little one they met back there that had, was looking down. You know what her advice to me
What?
was? Slay queen.
Oh, I love it.
That's what she said.
You're right, girl. That's exactly right. So I think the point is whatever we do, there's not going to be any straight road to success.
For sure.
There's going to be paved with a lot of great things and probably way more adversities. So have some perspective on that. Enjoy the process of trying to reach the point where you want to get to. I'm sure when your dad came to this country 60 years ago, it was not a straight path.
No.
Look at him now. Right? That's a great inspiration for everybody. That's a great inspiration for everyone sitting in the crowd. Right? Nobody just wakes up at the top of the mountain.
I think one of his first jobs was a paper boy. Were you a paper boy?
I
Is that
was.
true? I heard that.
That's where I learned my skills.
That's where I know.
I broke a few windows. I threw a few on the roof. I would always get the notes from the next day. Like, please don't throw the paper on the roof.
Talking a little bit more about adversity and the process. In the startup world, failure is a learning process.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about some of the obstacles you face in your entrepreneurial endeavors and how you've overcome them and what you've learned from them.
Yeah, and I think even we look at Jeff Bezos, incredible entrepreneur, one of the biggest companies in the world. Did everyone see that picture of him sitting at his desk? you know, of Amazon startup where he had his own banner, he was the only one in the office.
Yep.
You know, that didn't start that way. Elon Musk almost failed in his business life, was bankrupt, almost bankrupt a few times, you know, but just continued to plow on with what he believed in himself and his mission. I think we should all have, you know, a degree of self-confidence in what we can bring to the table. We all do need to believe in ourselves. I mean, I think for me, the greatest lesson is, you know, always, you know, go out there and believe in yourself and know that it's not always going to go great. It's going to have its challenges, and then have the right people around you so that when you do fail, they can be there to pick you up. You know, I've had a lot of tough games, tough losses, difficult situations in life. Well, the people that are around me are the ones that picked me up and said, hey, that's okay, there's tomorrow. We can get through this. We're going to get through this. I'm here with you. You're not alone. We're going to make it through this together. You develop those relationships with those people through adversity, and they become some of the greatest friends in your life. So even though you may not have some self-confidence in yourself, you had a daughter that gave you a little, you know, a little extra something when you needed it. You know, and you have a husband that does that, or you have a partner, or you have a coworker, or you have a parent, or an aunt, or a grandparent. Right? All these people that come in your life, they bring and they add to your life. And what can you do for them in return? You can go give it your best for them. Right? If they're going to support you in the things you want to accomplish, how do you pay that back? Well, you pay it back through your effort, because you can control that. You pay that back through your attitude. You can control that. You can control that. You can control how positive you are in situations. You don't have to be a victim and say, oh man, this isn't going my way. The coach doesn't see how good I am. Oh man, the coach is never going to give me a chance. The coach only wants this guy to succeed. No. When those situations come up, you say, you know what? I'm going to go prove it to the coach. I'm going to go prove it to my teacher. I'm going to go prove it to my parent. I'm going to go prove it to my boss. And I'm going to go out there every day and try to earn their trust and respect every day through the things that I can control, which is my attitude.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, let's do it.